What is going on, guys? Hikari5880 here, and today we have a video to assist you and help you on ranking up efficiently in Frontier Hunter and to make the best out of your Hunter Orbs. So as you can see, there are 3 screens on display. The left being my first terminus run with the standard Sheeder setup, the center screen being a Frontier Hunter middle run with Kira and Maxwell, and the right screen being another middle run with Kira and Dion. So the strategy for Frontier Hunter Terminus is the same as usual. You take down the mob units to low HP in the first 2 turns, and then you go for that multi-kill and overkill bonus on turn 3. Furthermore, we've brought a Sheeder along to add those elemental buffs to all your units, and we have some high hit count units such as Lario to work in synergy with Sheeder's buff. This is how you score a high elemental bonus point score near the end of each round. Now luckily I had done this Frontier Hunter season in Japan quite a while back, so I vaguely knew the lineup for it. So battle 3, you'll bump into Themis. I strongly recommend you take her down in 2 turns, because she will BB steal on turn 3 and she will hit your Sheeder pretty hard due to some lore. On battle 7, you will bump into Borgeus. I also strongly recommend you take him down in 2 turns, as he can hit you pretty hard and debuff your unit. That is pretty much Terminus in a nutshell. So let's now talk about where it's getting much more interesting, and that is Frontier Hunter Middle. Now the strategy here is to bring along the staple units, which are Diana, Kira, Quaid and Mifune, and to use Diana's normal Brave Burst and guard all your other units on round 1. You keep doing this until all your units have Super Brave Burst, and you use the second Fujin on Diana. You then proceed to BB spam all the units on the screen, and you gain your points mainly from the damage output that you deal. So if we take a look at the Kira and Maxwell setup that we just did in the center screen, we hit 1.4 million points just on round 1, which is quite crazy if you ask me. However, in comparison, if we look at the Kira and Dion setup, we're hitting 2.5 million with the exact same mob. So this gives you the idea that the Kira and Dion setup is far superior than the Kira and Maxwell setup when running Frontier Hunter Middle. Now the strategy was found by a Japan player. Unfortunately, I don't know the origin of the original strategy. However, the strategy was sent from a friend of mine, Absurd, and that's where I picked up the strategy and started to work on it. So now let's talk about the pros and cons of running Terminus and running Middle. Now the advantages of running Terminus is that you can pretty much go in with a full team of 6 stars and still come out with a pretty decent score. The other advantage is that the mob units are pretty much fixed, so you know what to expect and you can pretty much work around them. The huge disadvantage of running Terminus is that the run takes ages, and you do need to take the run with care. You want to make sure you don't accidentally kill a unit when trying to take their HP down. Now in comparison, running Middle has advantages and disadvantages as well. The main advantage being that the run is much faster and you can score just about the same amount of points as Terminus, or even more, with the correct setup. The huge disadvantage is that you do need a fairly decent pool of 7-star units. The staple units are required as well, which is Diana, Kira, Quaid and Mifune. And the other disadvantage is that you do need a heavy sphere setup, such as Blighted Seal or Wicked Blade, and then you need some pretty strong secondary spheres such as Heavenly Bud or Geld Knight Axe. Now you're probably wondering, how is the perfect way to run Frontier Hunter? Well, I would personally switch between running Middle runs and Terminus runs depending on what friends are available. Now if you do have both team setups, then this should be pretty easy for you. However, if you don't, then I would most likely recommend you just stick to running Terminus. Now another huge disadvantage of running Middle are the mob units. Now the mob units aren't fixed, it goes down to RNG. So sometimes you may run into a mob of 6 units, and that will pretty much rack up your score to a really high score and will get you those Frontier Hunter service points. However, sometimes you may bump into mobs where there are only 2 units, and this can be pretty detrimental to your final score. So here you can see that on the final battle, round 5, we've bumped into a mob of 6 units, and that is what brings your score up really high. That's pretty much Frontier Hunter Middle in a nutshell, and Frontier Hunter Terminus in a nutshell as well. So in terms of what I scored here, my first Terminus run was almost 2.1 million points. My Frontier Hunter Middle run with Kira and Maxwell was hitting about 8.24 million points, which is pretty insane. However, the Kira and Dion setup was hitting 10.5 million points. That's reaching levels of MVP points. Now, I'm not sure if this is a MVP score. I would hardly doubt it, because it is very competitive to get the MVP score. So there you can see the total esteem points for each run. So now let's take a look at the service points that you get for these 3 runs. So for Kira and Maxwell, you get 412,000 points for hitting 8.24 million esteem points. In comparison, if we look at a standard Terminus run, which is almost hitting 2.1 million esteem points, we're hitting 419,000 points, which isn't a grand lot compared to that Kira and Maxwell. But if we look at that Kira and Dion, we're hitting 525,000 points. That's more than that Shida team and that Kira and Maxwell setup for Frontier Hunter Middle. So that is basically the guide, guys. I hope I have helped you and informed you that running Frontier Hunter Middle can be advantageous in some situations compared to running Frontier Hunter Terminus. So that is it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And as usual, guys, I will see you in the next one. See ya.